what's up? This is Mike, jamplay.com. We're going to learn the song Outside. This song is a really good way of seeing kind of how a song develops. I mean, Outside was originally played at the Family Values Tour in 1999 with Aaron live on stage with Fred, and it's actually a pretty funny story where, I mean, he hadn't played that song in ages. He used to play it back in a bar, and I remember Fred came to him before the show and said, hey, why don't you do that song Outside? We had played around with it months and months back, and Aaron hadn't played it forever, so he was backstage kind of learning the song before he went out there to do it. And it was in Biloxi, Mississippi, hence Biloxi, we're feeling those lighters, if you ever heard the live version. It's funny, if you watch Aaron's hand when he's playing, he's actually kind of shaking, I think, in that Family Values video, because he was pretty nervous. But he nailed it, and it's funny, I mean, we finished touring on that record. It was Dysfunction at the time, and came home and that song was on the radio, I mean, every hour. I mean, it was just always on, and it just really blew up. And it was funny, we were working on the next record, which is Break the Cycle. We decided we were going to do a band version of it. So I think you can kind of hear, if you listen to the two versions, you can kind of hear, you know, how we kind of build a song that starts acoustically, because the original version that you hear was just Aaron's acoustic part, and then I added the parts that I'm going to show you today along with his acoustic part. And you can see how a song kind of starts off on acoustic and what it can eventually build into when you have a full band and you add all the other pieces into it. So stay tuned and let's learn the song. So that's Outside. That's how the intro goes. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, there's, you know, I think this kind of shows also that, you know, a song doesn't have to be super complex. I mean, it really gives Aaron a nice, you know, something really nice to sing over, and allows the melody and his voice to really, you know, sell the song. So, and it did. So for this song, as all of our songs, this is just on a standard guitar, but it's down a half step. So it's E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, E flat. The first chord is an E chord. And on this one, you can, you know, you strum the open E chord, and you leave the B and the E string open. So, and don't be afraid, you know, to strum all the strings on the E chord. And then basically it's the same figure, but you move it to a D, in the D position on the 5th fret. And on this one, so when you strum the strings, I usually just mute the 6th string with my middle finger. So you go, and you still strum all the strings, so you get the open high strings, and you basically move the same figure up to the G, down to the G, to an A. And again, all the strings are in play. I mean, that's the way that it sounds the best. So I'll play it kind of slow for you. It's not that it's that tricky, but here we go. And that's the intro and the verses to the song. Basically, for the chorus, you take the intro and verse chords and you flip 2 around. Real trick in songwriting. Sometimes you can do that if you just take the chords that you're playing and you kind of switch it around. It kind of keeps the same kind of theme going. You can kind of work on the same type of melodies, but yet it gives it a little bit of a different twist. So we start off with the E chord, which again, all 6 strings are strummed. So you have the open E, and the B and the E string, high B and E string are open also. So it's to the G, again open. Then it goes to the D. So instead of E to D, it goes E, G, then to the D. and then to the A. So the chorus goes like this. So that's basically what I play in the verse and what I came up with over the verse acoustic chords parts to kind of, as the singing starts to kind of start to build the song up a little bit. The tuning for this song is, again, we're down a half step, and what I do is I drop the low string, it's down to G sharp. The second string is regular down a half step, it's where it is, so it stays at D sharp. What I do again for the fourth string is I bring that up a whole step to A sharp. So I get that chord again where I just bar the low three strings. Then from there it's basically standard a half step. You get C sharp, F sharp, and A sharp. So that's the tuning for the song that I use. Doesn't really affect this part of the song, but later on when the chords come in the chorus, you get to hear some of those voicings and how they work with this tuning. So this is how the part is played. I start with my pinky on the 16th fret on the second string. This is the first phrase. So that's how the first chord goes. Then I slide my pinky down to the 14th fret and the index finger down to the 12th for the second chord, which is. From there you slide the same figure down to 12, 12, 10. To the final chord, which is. The trick there is you're barring the high two strings, and you have to lift your pinky to get the last note on the high B string, which is. So that's the last chord. So slowly, the whole verse part goes like this. The only difference is the last time before it goes into the chorus, the last chord is played like this. And you let the vocal line of the chorus start that and goes into there. So that's how the verse is played. So now we're going to learn what I play over the chorus to the song Outside. The first chord starts at the 12th fret on the 5th string, bar the 5th and 4th, 14th on the 3rd, and then I go an octave lower, so which is basically I put my finger on the 7th fret on the 6th string and strum the two open strings below it. So it's. Move up the 10th fret barred starting on the 6th string. So what that is, as I'm barring it, I play 12th fret on the 3rd string, 9th fret, and then to the 10th fret on the 3rd string. So while you're holding the chord, you pick those notes out. So it's. And you slide down the 5th fret, then to the 12th. And the little turnaround lick is, which is open, 5th string. So it's. So what I'm going to show you now is basically the re-intro part that leads into the second verse, and it's also the third verse of the song after the second chorus, and it's played exactly the same, except I'm playing it through the choruses and this re-intro with less distortion. So it's kind of a different tone that I used for here as opposed to the third verse, which distortion kicks up because it's really the, bring it home part of the song. So this part again starts off just like the chorus does, with the same first chord, 12th fret, 5th and 4th string barred, 14th fret on the 3rd, so it's to the octave lower, which is basically just only notes on that you're fretting is on the 7th fret on the 6th string and open 5th and 4th string. Then you do the same kind of thing where you play an octave higher. So that's 10, 10, 12 to the barred at the 5th fret on the 6th string. And then you do the same turnaround that you did, it's just in a different spot because the chords are flipped. On the 10th fret barred. And the only difference is when you do the end of the re-intro into the second verse, you end on the 12th fret on that chord. And when you're playing it in the third verse, you do the turnaround again and that loops. So I'll play it like it is in the third verse. So one time through would sound like this. So on and so forth, and you repeat that again, and that actually cuts out in the third verse where it plays this chord and then it kind of cuts down the distortion for the last two chords to and then the last round of the third verse goes back to the clean part, which I showed you earlier. So that's how the intro to the second verse goes and the third verse goes. So there's a little octave part that happens right before the last verse of the song, and it kind of just adds a little bit more to the build of it as the distortion kicks in and playing those chords. What I had to do for this part, because I played it on a standard guitar, I mean, you can do the octaves with this 4th string tuned up, as I have it tuned up to A sharp for the song, but to show you this, I tuned it back down a whole step. So now it's, a regular kind of tuning, so I can do the octaves and, keep it the way octaves are usually played. So it starts at the 11th fret on the 4th string. Slide down to the 9th fret. Slide back to 11 into the 12th, so it's slide down to the 5th fret, which is 9, 7, 5, 7, back to the 5, then the same thing, 9, 7, 5, and end on the 7th. So the whole riff goes like this. Well, I hope you enjoyed the lesson on how to play outside. I hope you have a little better time of it than I did. One thing I remember about recording the song in the studio is we had it was before I had a lot of baritone guitars, and one thing that I've had issue with is sometimes getting guitars to play in tune, and we had a really, really hard time just getting those intonating the guitar and to get that to stay in tune, and the chords were really difficult. I think it was like 2 days, and just to get the guitars right to be able to play that song in the studio and to make it sound in tune. So hopefully I have a little easier time of it than I did. Let's play the song now.